Hello chess friends, this is International Master Valeri Lilov, and today I'm going to analyze the third game of the World Championship match played between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karjakin. The game was, in my opinion, quite double-edged, and I'd say it was a drama. I mean, it had a fair share of drama for both sides, for both players. I think it's very instructive to go over a few parts of that game that I find most instructive. So let's talk about it. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight to the c6, basically this is the moment where white played bishop to the b5, knight f6, and short castles. Black played knight takes to the e4, and then after that there was the move of rook e1. Now, d4 would have probably gotten into the Berlin, which is why I feel white just wanted to steer away from the Berlin in this case. So he just wanted to have a different sort of variation, and it makes sense. I mean, after rook e1, black did knight d6, and then there was knight takes to the e5. So that's a nice variation. It's a nice version to play. Now, talking about the position over here, after knight takes d5, black played bishop to the e7, and so after that move, what actually happened is that there was the move bishop e7, bishop f1, and knight takes to e5. Okay, rook takes e5, short castles. Now, let's talk a little bit about this position here. I mean, truth be told, I personally think that this is very equal. But then there are certain possibilities for each player that make it interesting. And that's what I suppose matters most in this position. So what's going on a bit further is quite interesting. Let's take a look. Let's see what came through. After the move of pawn up to the d4, then there was the move of bishop to f6, and then after that move of bishop to the f6, the next continuation was rook to e2. So it was fairly nice to see that line. The rook is actually coming right back, and it's escaping, so it's good. Then b6, rook e1 here, and bishop to f4. Rook takes d, queen takes d1. Yeah, the game is roughly equal, I'd like to say. There's no real advantage for either side. White is getting ready to complete his development, which he will do. And so, let's take a look. Black plays queen e7. And this moment, white plays knight c3. Bishop b7, queen takes d, bishop takes d. Now, this is a very nice endgame to talk about, a very instructive one, if you ask me. White has his fair share of activity. Black, on the other hand, also attempts to get the development. And, in fact, I like to say white has slightly better chances due to his preferably stronger pieces. So after bishop takes e7, white does a4. It's a pretty good move if you think of it. Black has to do a6, which white responds with the move g3, in fact, and that's pretty strong. So let's talk about that. After g3, black played g6, bishop takes to the d6, bishop takes to the d6, and then after that, bishop to g2. Exchange and recapture. Yeah, I have to admit that white's development looks very good, especially if he's able to play with rook e1. Although I would have probably liked to think about rook e1 as a more of a tempo move that stands out as better, even though I wouldn't necessarily say it is much better. I wouldn't say that it is superior to the other variations. So, let's take a look at that. Bishop takes the d6, bishop takes the d6, bishop to the g2, and let me take a look at this. So what can happen, what goes in this type of position? So for example, after bishop g2, exchange trade, black played with the move of f5, and then there was knight d5. See, as you could realize, white is trying to expand his position and just get better. His knight is getting stronger, his rook is much more powerful. So, black plays king f7. Both sides have symmetric development. which more or less makes it very equal. There's nothing special, there's nothing going on differently for either player. So this looks fine. As black moves along with his king, going towards the f7, he's ready to go to e6, and he's ready to just, extend his position a little more. White played knight e3. That forced the black king to go to f6, so white can do the move of knight to the c4. So, this looks good. Putting a little extra pressure against the opponent's d6 is awesome. He had to move the bishop back, so that now white sets up the rook on the e-file. He's ready to keep black away from some of the best squares like e8 and a few others. And it's a good start. It's not like a brilliant position, but it is a very, very good start at the moment. So there is not too much that black can deliver or do or achieve on his own. After that last move, things look really good. Well, it's not to say that this is the end for black, not at all. He has his own game. I mean, black played rook d8. And then I like the fact that white actually got the chance to restrict and try making imbalances. In fact, that's what gave him the advantage later on. So, in fact, after continuing with f4, in case of the g takes f, g takes f, white's making some changes, but not just equal changes, no. These are changes that are going to shift the position a bit. They're going to make it look a little different. They're not going to keep it symmetrical. So if white was going to ever fight for advantage, he needed that. He needed to shift certain things a little bit more so that, the possibilities could work out. Yeah, and it was a good thing. It was good. I mean, after all, once that move took place, black exchanged, takes, and then he played b5. I have to say that this was the moment where black picked up to overextend his position a little bit more. I don't think it was right to do so, but he kind of felt like perhaps by pushing away some of white's pieces, this is going to help him to get his own control on the side, and maybe that could be helpful enough. Maybe that's going to be good. Let's see what happened. Exchange takes, knight e3, c6, and then after that, white just keeps improving by bringing his own king onto f3. It was a really good move, I have to say. Setting up this king, having it support the center closer to the middle, I think it is an awesome position. What about black? Oh, I can't say the same thing about him, that's for sure. He stands all good, but then, unfortunately, there is a problem. And the problem is the inability for black to really come out, the fact that he is going to stay behind with most of his pieces, and the fact that white can control so well with almost every piece that he's got. It is beautiful in every way. So, actually, after that last move, then black played alongside rook a8, rook to the g1, and rook a2. So he's basically going forward. He is attacking, threatening, or at least trying to be a little more aggressive. Now, I think this really overextended things. This overextended the things for black because he should have kept himself a little bit backward. Yes, it wouldn't have been too perfect. It would have been a little passive, but everything would have been more or less just fine. Now, when that move took place, you realize that things are not fine. They're far from that. And, that's what I call overextending. Not paying enough attention to stabilize the position, to keep your pieces good, to make sure that they're solid, and instead trying to make things go a little different. I think black just wasn't aware of the danger. I say that the first rule of playing any endgame successfully is the ability to ask yourself, what am I fighting for? Truth be told, all the black had to do is just to keep a solid position, most likely with the move of bishop to the h6. And in fact, after bishop h6, he would be able to hold down the g5 square so that white doesn't break through. I guess that would have worked out quite nicely. He would have stopped us from moving forth. There would have been no way for white to prove any pressure. So it would have been a really fair and a very good position. Unfortunately, there was another move that came through. Black did not do the development like that, and he played Rook A2. Now, this practically forces this such an important piece, like the Rook, to move onto a very different side of the board, and thereby leave the back rank as well as the other, like positions out there quite vulnerable and behind. That was bad. It was really bad and sad in a way. So it didn't have to happen, but it did. So remember, whatever happens, we need to be clear on what we're fighting for. This move went on to fight for a win, while the reality was that Black had the inferior development. He had most of his pieces behind, has quite backward places for each piece, and yet that sort of push that he attempted felt like he was fighting for an advantage, which was terribly wrong because he wasn't. It was never going to happen. It was never going to be good. See, the breakthrough, the possibilities out there, and other things of this kind, they just don't work. It's just not happening. Well, anyway, White used a great opportunity to move. He made a maneuver which kind of weakened the black position by forcing his king to come down. And we could see that now f5 is hanging as well as, some other places. This is not cool. And Black kind of felt this. He realized that position is just not going too well anymore. There is a specific danger due to the f5 and other pieces. Yes, there was. And so, with the Rook G2, Pawn takes D, Knight takes F5. There's the recapture that took place. White was really good here with his pieces. He's now dominating pretty effectively too. It's a good position. Black played Rook to the A1, Knight D4, B4, Rook G5. Now, I'd like to say here that White got a clearly advantageous position. Being a pawn up with a strong knight and a strong rook seems like it should be easy for White to win. But it's not that easy. It takes quite a bit of skill. So, ultimately, the world champion wasn't able to do that. But it's going to be really interesting to talk about what he should have done so that this can be achieved. I mean, first of all, let's improve the king. That's how I believe a Karpov would have done it. A small and yet very important move to set up one of the key pieces right up in the battle, right up in the play. Now that king is going for the d5 or f5, which will be centralized, and then we can play alongside Rook G5 and Rook F5. If the king goes up and then Black doesn't check, then we can play King F5, Rook F5, and or in case of Rook D1, King Knight F3. You see, I don't think it will be too easy to win this endgame, or maybe Rook G3. I think it will take quite a bit of effort and time, but that's the fun of it. Playing the endgames requires patience, and in some way, I love patience. Being patient enough can give you a good opportunity to figure out when to strike or how to do it, gradually. The move of Rook G5 felt a bit rushed, and after a couple of these moves, check, King F5, Rook D1, another check, and Rook D5. Ultimately, Black ended up taking that pawn, and it just wasn't brilliant. Rook takes D7, King back there, Rook came down, and Rook H3. I think this was White's mistake. He rushed a little too much. You see, the thing about these endgames is that the longer you get to hold your opponent in a difficult position, the more challenging or difficult it will be for him to play or win or defend. Also, truth be told, you're giving yourself a bit more time to find out how to convert that as an advantage. I mean, rushing is only necessary when the opponent has something dangerous to do, like a quick counterplay or something of that kind. And truth be told, he doesn't. Not here, at least. So when you're in a position like that, the last thing you want to do is rush. And it felt very rushed, this approach. Didn't feel bad, just felt rushed in a way. And that was the problem. A couple of the next moves felt like they were good to look at. But then again, despite his attempt to activate the knight and the king, Black just had this extreme flexibility. And one major mistake that white did, exchanging pawns. You see, I'm not against exchanging pawns. I think exchanging pawns is fine when it can lead to an immediate advantage. But as opposed to exchanging pieces when you have material, exchanging pawns can really cut on your winning chances. The reason being is that when you get to exchange pawns, the lesser pawns remaining on the board are going to mean more drawing chances for the losing side, for the one who has a disadvantage. So I think that the idea for trading off by white really wasn't that great. Later on, there was king f3, followed by rook c3 check. So black just came over with a nice check to attack, and he was pretty clear on the idea that this is good. You know, just let's do it. It's going to be a good move. It's going to be a nice check. And he was right. He was absolutely right. It was a very good approach that I have a hard time handling. You see, to win in such a position, you first need to get to neutralize your opponent's activity. And that is just not happening right now. Black has this fantastic superiority, you know, thanks to his rook, the bishop too, the challenge against the b3, and the fact that white is just behind defending. So I don't like that. And you know, white felt like this too. There is trouble. And the worst thing is that this trouble is just actually, it's going to stay. It's going to be there for quite a bit. It's not good. Well, it just keeps happening, actually, keeps repeating itself. The story repeats itself, and we've got trouble. Black has the activity. He's got the challenge. He's got the damage, and we just have to stay. It's not good. Definitely not good. Well, let's see what happened. After rook e3, h4, h3, white played knight f8. Now, so I'm not sure if that was a bad move. I wouldn't say it was very purposeful, but one thing is white wanted to just push black a little bit away. See, that knight on f8 and all the maneuvers, given that they don't change the position too much, are good because we are actually just kind of making him move around. We're making him to sort of lose a little bit of his control, a little bit of his position, and it's a good thing. It's really a good thinking here. Make him retreat, lose a bit of his control. That was good. That was a good start. So, like, actually, let's take a look and see. After that last move, black played king f7. And then there was knight to the d7. So, this is a good situation. We got a challenge. The opponent is a little behind. And we've got a good structure. I think white has what he needed to have. Is it enough, though? Well, that's the real question, isn't it? It's just pushing the opponent was one thing, but being able to win is completely different, and it's not that easy. King e6, here, check. Knight c4 was interesting. Rook e4 was a good challenge. Opposing, knight e5, knight g4, rook e6. It was a good strategy by white to ultimately move his rook so close and get it by the position under the e6. So we realize that this rook is actually going to be fairly strong out there. Having it on the 6th rank to blockade black, it's going to be a good place. His king cannot quickly move in, and we have the knight e5 coming. It was a good start. Now, white actually got to win almost, because now black made a bit of a mistake letting his bishop go down. And there was this big mistake, knight c6, which I think more or less gave black the drawing chances. He could have played rook to the c3. And after the check here, and king f4, this was a dramatic finish, but black would have taken down the knight, after which the b3 pawn falls. So white missed the right move, which was simply rook e8, takes, and knight c6. The good thing is that it's almost repeated itself. The biggest mistake by white is that he got passive. In the endgame, the most important thing is to stand active. A little move like rook e1 would have been really good, challenging the black king back, playing knight a5 to discoordinate, and then actually gradually move on to take this pawn and win. That would have been a really great resource. Although I have to say that there will be this fair share of problems, I think white has his own good ability to, fight. Well, if that pawn is lost, certainly we can. I mean, if he takes, we've got a check and we're going to win. So if white manages to protect that pawn or find a way to defend it, he'd win. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen with a move like knight a5 and the rook on b5 defending. This gave black an opportunity to use the h-pawn as a resource and keep it against white, so that now white can't hold both the queen side and deal with the pawn. He had to move the knight, and now we realize that this pawn is too dangerous, so white has to agree for a draw. It was kind of sad to see such a game that Carlsen had till the very last moment go for a draw. But, when you are played for 5 hours or 6 hours, in the end you're tired and you miss things. It's, however, instructive to see some of the major mistakes and yet key highlights and instructive points that we can all learn from. Thank you so much. And this was International Master Valeri Lilov with the third game from the World Championship match between Carlsen and Karjakin.
Hi, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.